Let's turn to Pakistan, where officials are reporting a surge in the number of terror-related incidents. Pakistan says the majority of them are carried out by militants based in Afghanistan. The de facto Taliban government there denies being involved, although tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan have been escalating since the Afghan Taliban took control of Kabul 2.5 years ago.
Funerals like these now becoming a common sight. In a recent militant attack, Pakistan lost 5 of its security officers. The country is seeing a surge in terrorist activity. Last year, around 700 people were killed in more than 300 terror-related incidents, a significant increase compared to 2022. Most of the attacks targeted regions along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Pakistani officials say the majority of the violence was carried out by militant groups based out of Afghanistan. Islamabad accuses the Afghan Taliban of giving the Pakistani homegrown militant group TTP and others safe haven, an accusation the Afghan Taliban leadership has repeatedly denied. Afghanistan too has come under attack. An explosion at Kabul airport in 2021 and several others in Afghanistan were claimed by an affiliate of the so-called Islamic State called Khorasan. The group targets Pakistan too. Last year, it claimed responsibility for an attack at a political gathering. Dozens were killed. The Afghan Taliban see Islamic State Khorasan as enemy, but Pakistan accuses the Taliban of not taking enough action against the Islamist group. This month, Pakistani airstrikes in 2 provinces of Afghanistan angered the Afghan Taliban. Kabul says the strikes killed 8 civilians, all women and children. Islamabad, however, claimed it was targeting a group that was involved in attacks on Pakistani security forces. Pakistan often retaliates to the tensions in other ways, such as shutting the border between the 2 countries, affecting the livelihood of thousands of Afghans. And last year, Pakistan's government ordered around 1.7 million undocumented Afghan refugees to leave the country. Thousands fled or were deported. This has further escalated the tensions between the 2 countries. Many believe instead of policies punishing the civilians, Pakistan should engage with the Afghan Taliban leadership in a meaningful dialogue to counter the dangerous threat of terrorism engulfing the region.
For more, I'm very pleased to welcome Mosharraf Zaidi, a political columnist and former policy advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Pakistan. He joins us now from Islamabad. So Pakistan has tried previously to negotiate with its homegrown Taliban group, the TTP. How useful do you think dialogue with the Afghan Taliban leadership could be here for Islamabad?
Well, first, let me thank you for allowing me to express my views on DW and to help inform viewers about what's happening here. I just wanted to object to the term that was repeatedly used, both in the report and then you just used it again, the term homegrown. This idea or notion somehow that the TTP is a Pakistani problem that somehow Pakistan is now sort of externalizing, whereas Pakistani authorities, for the entirety of the duration of the TTP's existence, have rightly identified the TTP as being based and housed in Afghanistan, supported by elements in the Afghan government, both the government that was supported by NATO ISAF, including Germany, from 2001 till 2021, but also other countries in the region, including India. So the TTP is not a homegrown Pakistani terrorist group. It is an imposition on the people of Pakistan, and it has its roots and has always had its roots in the instability and conflict zone that is Afghanistan over the last 4 decades.
So given the security challenges that it is posing within Pakistan, how useful do you think it could be then for negotiations with the Afghan Taliban leadership?
I think negotiations, not just with the Afghan Taliban leadership, but also with the TTP, have repeatedly yielded nothing. There was a long period during which the Pakistani state sought to convince the Americans and the Germans and other Western powers that had come to this region in 2001, that eventually a dialogue with the Afghan Taliban would be the only path forward. That approach by the Pakistani state has now come back to haunt it itself, because in its own efforts to engage in this dialogue, it has run into a lead wall, which is the Afghan Taliban. The Afghan Taliban are not willing to concede on literally any item of negotiation, including its support for the TTP. Now, part of the reason why there is a different treatment between the Afghan Taliban and their dealings with the US, for example, during the Doha negotiations that led to this exit of the US, and the difference between that and how the Afghan Taliban deal with Pakistan, is that there is somewhere for Americans or Germans or other Western or non-Western troops that had visited Afghanistan for as long as 20 years, they had another place to go. Whereas in Pakistan's case, Pakistan has no place else to go. Conversely, when violence and conflict hits the Afghan people also have nowhere to go. They have been coming to Pakistan for 4 decades in large numbers, and for the most part have enjoyed a welcoming, warm embrace by the Pakistani people, unlike the treatment of refugees and migrants in many Western countries.
We are now, of course, also seeing Pakistani authorities moving to deport registered Afghan refugees. I'm afraid that is all we have time for now, but I want to thank you so much for sharing your analysis with us here on DW. That is Mosharraf Zaidi.
A pleasure.